Everybody, Tim Anderson here, aka Renfill. Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be talking about Tolkien related stuff again today. The timing on this is just serendipitous because of all these different things coming together. Today we're going to be talking about the sale of all of the film, merchandising, live action, theme parks, all these different things up for grabs now as the Saul Zaentz Company has announced as of February 9th that they are selling all of the rights that they have held close to their chest since 1976. The timing on this is just we're going to dive into that today. This is not going to be a rant video. I might get a little ranty in a couple places, but it's not going to be like yesterday's video, which was a tongue-in-cheek, over-the-top rant about Rings of Power. But we are going to be talking about the entirety of the sale, the good, bad, and the ugly of that, and etc. So let's get ready to dive in. Before we do, though, this is your first time watching, thank you so much for your time today. And if you do like the video, hopefully you will smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you get updates like this in the future. But also don't forget to check out all the playlists here on YouTube because there's a lot of different stuff I do here. It's a variety channel, even though it does have a focus on Lord of the Rings related stuff. I do a lot of different things, so make sure to check this out. Don't forget we also have a Discord. Links are down there. And if you want to know more about the world, the Weave and the Void, which is behind me, we're going to be talking about that at the very end. So hopefully you'll stick around for all that. Without further ado, let's switch scenes over here. Scroll up here to the top. I'm going to take a sip of coffee from my Mando mug, and we're going to dive in. All right. This is February 9th. So I actually came across this yesterday when I was doing my rant piece on the Rings of Power. We talked about this a little bit in the Looking for More podcast yesterday, but we're going to dive into this in greater detail today. So, exclusive article over at Variety.com. The Lord of the Rings and Hobbit film and gaming rights are up for sale. This is crazy. So Zaentz Company, if you don't know who they are, Saul Zaentz Company has owned the rights to everything, basically, for film, TV, merchandise, and everything since 1976. And if you've ever played any sort of video game title that is set within the world of Middle-earth, you'll notice that there's a logo down at the bottom along with the publisher and developer that says Middle-earth Enterprises. That is owned and operated by Saul Zaentz Company, and it handles everything related to Lord of the Rings and licensing. Now, they have hired ACF Investment Bank to handle the sale process, which is unfolding this week, as bankers make the rounds with the logical Hollywood buyers. The Tolkien properties are projected to fetch at least $2 billion based on recent high valuations for top-tier IP and content producers. This is huge. It's also, and this part's very important here, the Zaentz Company holdings encompass the rights to exploit Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit properties in film, video games, merchandising, live events, and theme parks. It also includes limited matching rights should the Tolkien estate decide to make movies or other content based on two compilations of Tolkien writings that were published after his death in 1973, The Silmarillion and The Unfinished Tales of Numenor and Middle-earth. So I have to say here, Saul Zaentz, when they bought the rights back in 1976, they were pretty smart in that they got their hands on everything and they got matching rights to these things as well. I think at the time, the Tolkien estate probably didn't realize the value of all of this stuff because film and television and video games had not video games in particular. I mean, we hadn't even gotten to that point where things were being developed in that medium. So pretty smart to have an open-ended contract, and with all of those rights tied in, because it has been very profitable for the Saul Zaentz Company over the years. Now, I do want to talk about the good, bad, and the ugly of this. So the good in my mind is that I'm a big fan. As an example, I like Star Wars, and I like everything Star Wars. So even though I don't really care for the Disney films, I still like them, even though they're not as good as other stuff. I still will watch them and enjoy them because they are Star Wars. Um, the Disney Plus stuff has been amazing. The Mandalorian. You also have got things like the Clone Wars and Bad Batch and the Star Wars Rebels shows, all of which were amazing shows. If you've never read, they're not canon, and they call them, what's it called, Legends now or something. But the Star Wars, I grew up calling them the expanded universe, which was, they kicked them off with the Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn back in the early 90s. And all those books that were through the 90s, you had the Boba Fett trilogy, or the Bounty Hunter trilogy, excuse me, the Han Solo trilogy. You had the Jedi Academy series. which I think was Kevin J. Anderson. You had Michael Stackpole doing the X-Wing series. There were a lot of amazing books that came out in the 90s as a result of George Lucas being willing to just sort of let people play in his playground and do lots of cool things with the rights to his universe, with him sort of being at the top, giving final say on whether or not something would be acceptable or not. Now, of course, we don't have that per se because Tolkien's been gone for a very long time, since 1973, and his son just passed away, I think in 2020. It's been a couple years now. But neither one of those guys really had in my mind, and this is going to be a criticism, neither one of those guys had the foresight to really want to allow that sort of exploitation to happen, because they were very controlling of it being a literary work, and therefore the purity of that needing to be intact. So I can see the good of these rights being kind of sold off and us getting lots of cool Middle Earth stuff. However, the bad is going to be like my rant yesterday on Rings of Power. You're going to see companies that will take extremely loose. They will have extremely loose interpretations of these works and these properties, and so we will possibly, more than likely, probably see these shows, movies, etc. come out, which maybe are based on, it'll say something like based on the world of Middle Earth, but then it has almost nothing to do with Middle Earth because they're just doing their own interpretation. Or, and I'm going to use air quotes here and I'm going to get a little ranty from yesterday's video, or they're going to write the novel that Tolkien never wrote. Like, right? That's the potential downside to all of this, is we're going to get that type of stuff coming out of this, where we're going to have people just inventing characters, making up storylines, and watering down some of the really cool elements of Middle Earth. We don't know, but that's an assumption that we can make based on what we've seen from other intellectual properties over the years that, for better or for worse, have had really good things come out and have had really bad things come out as well. The ugly is that all of this is going to cost billions of dollars, and it's going to take a long time for any of this to come out. And there's probably going to be more lawsuits and more battles and all this other stuff, because those will never stop as long as there are billions of dollars to be had. A contract is not worth the paper it's printed on because it's open to interpretation, and as everyone knows, interpretation is 9/10 of the law. So if someone disagrees with an interpretation, as we can see down here, it's understood that in the Zaentz Company's view, substantial live-action film rights reverted back to them last year, in part because Warner Brothers had not been actively developing live-action Lord of the Rings and related content. However, it's believed that the studio and Zaentz Company are already at odds over who controls what when it comes to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, which have been subject of extensive litigation over the years. And the only thing we have from New Line and Warner Brothers in recent years is the forthcoming anime theatrical film called The Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim. Also, you'll notice here in the early 2000s, Zaentz sued Warner Brothers and New Line over profits from the movies. Tolkien Estate and HarperCollins publisher also sued Warner Brothers multiple times over profits from the Lord of the Rings films and the three Hobbit features. That's the ugly side of this, ladies and gentlemen, is that there are always going to be lawsuits involved. So, that being said, I think it's cool that the rights are for sale. Obviously, we're going to see the shark circling at this point. It's going to be all the big Hollywood studios. It's going to be all of the major video game publishers and developers, the people who have billions of dollars, things like Microsoft, doing an Activision Blizzard acquisition for tens of billions of dollars. Sony just bought, I forget who it was the other day. Anyway, acquisitions being the nature of the beast, we're going to see big, big money being spent on this stuff. I would love to hear your comments. So now that we're at the end of the video, let's talk about it down below. Drop your comments down there. Let's discuss what you think. Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do you see the silver lining, or are you just completely against the sale whatsoever and you just don't want to see anybody taint the waters anymore? Let's talk about it. And of course, if you did like the video and you've gotten to the end here and you want to get more, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you get more of the same. Hit that bell icon so you get updates when everything goes live or when we're streaming. I do streams by my own. I stream with my wife. And we do a lot of different things here. We have a Discord community with a gaming community as well. And ironically enough, we just started playing Lord of the Rings Online last night, officially. We moved over from EverQuest 2 to Lord of the Rings Online. So the timing for all these Lord of the Rings related videos is interesting. And if you want to know more about the world of the Weave and the Void, which is the map behind me, it's a project that I'm working on with my brother and my wife. We've also got Nathan Napalm involved doing character art, but it's a 5th edition tabletop setting and campaign modules, along with a point-and-click game like the old King's Quest and Quest for Glory games, along with a book series. It's like Dragonlance with chapter art and everything else. And it's all being done through our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/wandering hermits. You can find more information over there. Pick up a subscription for as little as $3 a month. Chapter 12 was just published yesterday. You can get in and check all that stuff out, pre-order the books, pre-order the game, all those good things. So hopefully we'll see you in Discord. If not, we'll see you over Patreon. And if not, we'll see you here on YouTube in the next video, whenever that is, and whatever it is. Maybe a live stream as well. Stay safe, everybody. Until next time. Peace.